Daniel Carter, 26, had always considered himself practical. He was the kind of man who worked hard at his architectural firm, spent quiet evenings at home, and only allowed romance into his life through books and the occasional movie. Love at first sight. He thought it was a pretty story other people told themselves, until she appeared on his television screen. It was a cold, rainy Friday evening. Daniel sat alone on his couch, cradling a mug of coffee while flipping aimlessly through channels. He wasn't looking for anything in particular, just background noise for the sound of the rain against his window. And then there she was. Emma Sullivan, 25, was the evening news anchor on Channel 9. She wasn't just beautiful, though her hazel eyes, soft waves of chestnut hair, and warm smile were enough to catch anyone's attention. There was something about her voice, steady yet gentle, carrying both intelligence and warmth, that made him forget the rain, the coffee, and the rest of the world. From that night onward, Daniel's evenings revolved around the news, not because he cared more about the headlines, but because of Emma. It felt ridiculous, and yet he couldn't help it. Something about her presence filled a quiet place inside him he hadn't even realized was empty. A month later, fate intervened. Daniel's close friend invited him to a charity art gala downtown. He almost didn't go, social events weren't his thing, but he eventually gave in. The gallery was buzzing with soft music, laughter, and the clinking of wine glasses. He was admiring a painting when his gaze drifted across the room, and his heart stopped. Emma Sullivan was there. She stood near a sculpture, talking with another guest, her elegant navy blue dress flowing gently as she moved. In person, she was even more captivating. Her presence felt magnetic, as if the room unconsciously revolved around her. Daniel hesitated for a moment. Should he? Would she even care to meet him? But something told him to take the chance. Emma Sullivan, he said gently, approaching with a polite smile. She turned toward him, her hazel eyes locking with his. For a brief moment it felt like time slowed. Yes, she said, her lips curving in a soft smile. And you are? Daniel Carter, he replied. I just wanted to say I really admire your work. You make the news worth watching. Her laugh was quiet but warm. That's sweet of you to say. Are you an art enthusiast, Daniel? Not really, he admitted. But I am becoming a fan of this evening. She tilted her head, amused. They talked about the exhibits, the weather, coffee shops in the city, and their favorite travel spots. There was no awkward pause. Conversation flowed effortlessly. Before the night ended, Daniel found the courage to ask, "Would you like to have coffee with me sometime? Without the cameras?" Her eyes sparkled. "I'd like that." Their first coffee date was at a small corner cafe with rain-fogged windows. Emma arrived in a cream sweater, her hair loosely tied back, minimal makeup letting her natural beauty shine. Daniel was struck by how unpretentious she was. No spotlight, no professional mask, just Emma. They talked for hours. She told him about her college days, her love for old movies, and how she secretly enjoyed baking even though she wasn't great at it. He shared stories from his childhood, his dream to design his own home someday, and how he found peace in quiet places. When they finally left the cafe, it was late, and the streets were empty. Their hands brushed once, twice. Until Daniel simply took hers. She didn't pull away. From then on, their story unfolded like a series of stolen moments. They went to late-night movie screenings, sharing popcorn and leaning close to whisper comments during the film. Sometimes they stayed until the credits ended, reluctant to leave the cocoon of the dark theater. One Saturday, they explored a weekend farmer's market, weaving through the colorful stalls, sampling fresh bread, and laughing over which vegetables looked the strangest. Daniel bought her a small bunch of daisies, and she carried them like they were something precious. Another evening, they walked through the park under a sky brushed with pink and gold, their fingers intertwined. They stopped by the lake, watching the ripples catch the fading light. Daniel turned to her then, brushing a stray hair from her face, and kissed her softly. Their first kiss, unhurried and tender, as though both were afraid to break the spell. A month later, Daniel invited her to his grandfather's old farmhouse, about an hour outside the city. The place was surrounded by orchards and fields, with a distant scent of pine carried on the breeze. They spent the day picking apples, exploring the creaky old barn, and lying in the grass, making shapes out of clouds. That evening, as the sun dipped low, they sat together on the wide porch with mugs of hot chocolate. The air was cool, and she pulled his jacket around her shoulders. "I could get used to this," Emma murmured, gazing at the horizon. "So could I," Daniel replied, watching her instead of the sunset. When she turned to meet his eyes, something passed between them, unspoken but understood. He leaned in, and their lips met again. This kiss was deeper, warmer, lingering until the night wrapped around them. Her fingers curled into his shirt as he pulled her closer, both of them losing track of time.